I want to start off with a news item, and you can see on the screen, hopefully, the European Commission, the EU, just passed some major laws, two major laws. One is the Digital Services Act, and one is the Digital Markets Act. And the Digital Markets Act is really going to have an effect. So if you're a company operating in Europe now, you may have to choose between different vendors. So if you're consolidating on a single platform, let's say it's a Google or a Microsoft or AWS, moving more and more to their products, and they're offering preferential pricing and different ways to kind of lure you into a larger commitment. The EU is now going to be putting a lot more scrutiny on that, and this law goes into effect in 2024, I believe. It was just passed. So I'm kind of interested to see, they're calling some of these larger companies that have a big influence in the market, gatekeepers, and they're looking at also some emerging gatekeepers, and they'll name these companies. But it's the folks you expect. It's the Google, Microsoft, AWS, Apple. Apple has already raised some objections to this law. So kind of curious to get your opinion. You're based in Europe. This is definitely going to affect you, but I think it'll affect a lot of companies. What's going to happen if now it becomes less appealing or less possible to consolidate around a major cloud player, let's say? How are you going to navigate that, or what do you anticipate will be the fallout?
Yeah, yeah. Let's say that it's quite new for me, this information. So I don't think about it yet.
Mm-hmm.
But probably could be a big change also for my company, because as you know, for the big company, the best is to have a consolidation with other big company, like as you mentioned, Microsoft or Amazon or Google, whatever it is. And so it could be a big change for us. Because normally we use this company because it's for us it's easier at the global level to have other company that could work at the global level. So yeah. This could be a very an impact for us, but yeah, we will see at the end if the law will be the same, or during the journey will change a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think one of the interesting provisions, and I've been reading some news articles about it. Apple has, like I said, has been very vocal against it, but one example they're talking about is interoperability now needs to be guaranteed. So if you're having a conversation in iMessenger or iMessage, excuse me, with Apple, you now have to have the ability to carry that conversation onto different platforms like Messenger and so on. So there's sort of an interesting mandate now for these big companies, not only just to stop anti-competitive practices in a broad sense, but really specifically, they're going to have to start playing nicer with other vendors and allowing this kind of interoperability and making things easier. So there's some big implications here, I think, for everyone. But yes. A lot of companies, let's say, are consolidating around a single player, and now they're going to have to probably entertain the reality of mixing together several vendors for best of breed use cases, or having a not just a single cloud platform, but maybe multi-cloud and hybrid cloud. So it becomes more complex, right? And I think this is going to be kind of like GDPR was, and how it really changed a lot of the landscape of how data and analytics operate in enterprises. I think this might have a similar impact. So you work for a multinational company, so you have several offices around the world. You already probably have in your corporation a multi-cloud or hybrid cloud arrangement. Give us an idea of some of the vendors y'all are using, if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah. But the 90% of our cloud is in Azure, so in Microsoft.
Sure, Microsoft Azure, yeah.
Yes, and we have also few things on AWS, very few. Okay. And also for data, we have also some specific data for marketing, for example, in Google. We use it with Google Analytics.
Okay.
So, but yes, as I said, the most important part is in Azure.
Okay, so you're a Microsoft shop more or less, but with other players involved, of course. So curious, I want to know a little bit about how that journey came to be. So a typical pattern that we see for a lot of big Azure customers is they make the move to Microsoft Azure, or they dip their toe in the water with one or two different pieces of the product, and then slowly sort of take on more and more Microsoft capabilities. You know, the O365 and Teams, and you know, then they're moving to Azure Synapse and all these kinds of things. So that's sort of that's Microsoft. That's any of these major players. They're trying to loop in customers for more and more stickiness. Is that similar to how you went about this, or was this sort of an overnight shift or a major decision?
Yeah, yes, it was like you said, because we started I think 4 or 5 years ago with the Office 365 with Exchange moving from on-prem to the cloud. Then after that we moved the personal folder, let's say, so that today is OneDrive.
Okay. Yep.
And yes, after that, so we move small applications on cloud, and it's a journey. So we don't have finished yet, because the most important application, I'm not saying ERP, because ERP is SAP. So it's another migration. We are migrating SAP in the cloud, but it's in SAP cloud. So, but the most important application related to the factory, for instance, we keep on-prem.
Sure.
We decided to keep on-prem. And so, yeah, also other application that with sensible data, like HR applications, we decided to keep on-prem.
On-prem, yeah.
So this is the decision we made.
Yeah. So you're navigating a hybrid arrangement anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's common. I think a lot of manufacturing, a lot of companies that have factories, right, that make things, they tend to keep a lot of stuff on-prem for that uptime reason, and sensitive reasons in the factory. So makes a lot of sense. So I want to square some of this data with, or some of this new, news announcement here from the EU with some of our data, because I think there's an interesting overlap. We recently, or it wraps very soon, the technology spending intention survey. It's been in the field for a few weeks. We have more than 1,100 responses. It's a good, robust turnout here. But part of that is we ask what we call macro view questions, right, or kind of higher level, economic and social implications, and more general questions. And so one of the questions we asked in this is, IT spend. We see IT spending, down from a year ago, and that's following a lot of economic trends. But one of the things we asked of a subset of this response base is, what's the primary method that your organization is going to use in order to achieve this decrease in IT spending? And what's been interesting is consolidation of redundant vendors across business units is really one of the approaches we're seeing. This is interesting because redundant vendors, when you rationalize or eliminate some of these redundant vendors, that tends to be that moment when the organization will align with who they are already using a lot of. So if you're a Microsoft Azure shop and you have Teams and Zoom, you might get rid of Zoom, right? Because you've got Teams. So it becomes harder to kind of justify keeping people outside of that, or keeping vendors that are outside of that ecosystem. So what do you make of this? Any of these, do these resonate with you? Have you been kind of trimming some budgets, or and what are the methods you've been using to downsize, if you are?
Yes, it was also for my company. We received the message to reduce the budget 5%.
Sure, 5%. Okay.
Yes, 2021 versus 2022. And what we try to do is, or is it and was, yes, one probably is to make different contract. So review the contract with the local provider.
Okay.
And to have a contract longer than 1 year, because we usually did contract year by year.
Okay.
But for example, making a contract with a duration of 2 years, we have a major discount.
Yeah.
So in this way, with the big contract, for sure, not for the smaller one, we save money. So, and probably we save more than 5%. And so this is the method we use.
Okay. Yeah.
To reduce our cost.
Yeah, it's a smart method, so that you're re-architecting, you're re-engineering, I guess, the license or the purchase agreement or the contract, so you can get that sort of bulk discount, right, on the larger term. That's smart. That's a good way to go about it.